You are a brand, so even though you're working for somebody, your name is everything.
Starting a business is scary. It's going out and there's no safety net.
Don't wait for the skills. Go learn them while you're working. So you use your employer as your investor.
Who guards the guardians?
My drive is not a financial, it is freedom. It's a bigger purpose that it's not about money, it's not about cars, it's not about houses, but it's basically helping other people.
But that's what we do every day as entrepreneurs. We're the one that's catching the team as they fall.
All I can say is that over the course of the years, it's all about relationships. It's all about leadership. It's all about basically tempering yourself to where I don't wait for anything to happen. I had to create.
Just do the work.
Just do the work.
This is the Clark Connection Podcast, where 12 years of coaching championships meets real-world leadership. Coach Clark broke through at the highest levels. Now he's bringing you the playbook. Every week, real leaders, real wins. Real strategies you can use Monday morning. If you're done with theory and ready for results, this is your show. You in? Let's go!
Welcome to the Clark Connection Podcast. The show where we talk leadership, personal growth, and real conversations with people who've actually lived it. I'm your host, Aaron Clark, aka The Coach. Before we jump in, I want to take a moment to shout out today's sponsors. The Clark Connection Podcast is powered by Coach Clark Leadership and Development. We help organizations develop leaders who multiply leaders through live training, executive coaching, and cultural strategy. And if you want to grow alongside other serious leaders, join our Leadership Multiplier School community. It is a space built for intentional leadership growth, connection, and accountability. Learn more at coachaclark.com. This episode of the Clark Connection Podcast is proudly brought to you by Hubbard Flooring Studio. Leadership, growth, and success all start with a strong foundation, but the details matter too. Vicki and her team don't just specialize in high-quality flooring. They also offer Hunter Douglas blinds, bringing both function and design together in one place. Whether you're building, renovating, or upgrading a home or business, Hubbard Flooring Studio helps you create a space that reflects quality, intention, and excellence, from the floors you stand on to the light you let in. Now, if you're ready to work with people who care about craftsmanship and getting it right, visit hubbardflooringstudio.com or call 225-924-1582. Hubbard Flooring Studio, covering you from the ground up. Shout out to Steadfast Electric for supporting the show. When your power needs to be reliable, not just good enough, Brian and his team deliver safe, dependable electric work for homes and businesses. No shortcuts, no guesswork. Learn more at steadfastelectric.com or call 225-457-7957. Steadfast Electric, reliable power done right the first time. I want to recognize Bobby with the Comfy Quest LLC for sponsoring the podcast. Bobby specializes in craniosacral therapy, a highly specialized form of bodywork, and she's one of only 2 therapists in the Baton Rouge area offering it. This work helps the body release deep tension, regulate the nervous system, and truly reset. To learn more or book a session, visit massagebook.com/acomfyquest or call 225-773-0307. A Comfy Quest, specialized craniosacral therapy for a real nervous system reset. A big thanks to Automate Integrate Professional Services for backing the show. Andrew helps businesses simplify, automate, and integrate their systems so leaders stop wasting time on manual work and start focusing on growth. Visit automate-integrate.com or email Andrew at automate-integrate.com. Automate Integrate, systems that work so you don't have to overwork. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Bob Smith, chiropractic internist, for sponsoring today's episode. Dr. Bob focuses on identifying the root cause of pain and dysfunction, not just covering up symptoms. If your body isn't performing the way it should, this is the kind of care that looks deeper. Learn more at brspine.com or call 225-291-2626. Dr. Bob Smith, finding the root cause, not just chasing symptoms. Thank you for supporting this show and helping us keep those conversations going. And if you want to connect with me outside the podcast, here's how. You can reach me via email, aaron@coachaclark.com, or visit my website, coachaclark.com. You can connect with me on social media at coach_A_Clark or at Clark Connection Podcast. Now, let's get into about today's conversation. My guest today is Rene Manfre, an entrepreneur with a powerful story rooted in hard work, resilience, and reinvention. From early childhood lessons and blue-collar work to leadership in an oil refinery to navigating career pivots through insurance, real estate, and even rebuilding after Hurricane Katrina. Rene's journey is a masterclass in adaptability and grit. He's also a podcaster who believes deeply in sharing the knowledge to help others grow. This is a conversation about leadership, relationships, setbacks, and what it really takes to build something that lasts. Let's get connected. And welcome to the show, Rene.
Thank you very much, Aaron, for having me on. Looking forward to it.
Oh, pleasure's all mine. Excited. I mean, just got done reading off the laundry list of things that you've done. 3 decades, helping build businesses. So I kind of want to just how did we get started doing this? How did Rene get to where Rene is now?
It's a long path. So I'm 55, and when I started, when I look back at my childhood, I keep on going back on my childhood that I've been working pretty much since I would say 8 years old. And it's because I was the last of 4. So being the youngest, you have 2 older brothers, a sister, a mother and father, that everything that was needed to be done, guess who they came to, right? I'm the cheapest labor they can find. They know I'm going to do it. If I don't do it, I'm going to probably get beat up, or they bribe me with certain things, a candy or so I was pretty much bribed very, very quickly. And I think that when I
was about to say that you go get beat up.
Yeah. Either that or locked in the closet or some sort. So, I kind of start off with that because both of my brothers were always doing something. They were always into either fixing cars or working. One of my brothers was cleaning pools, cutting grass, whatever. So I was always kind of like that, hanging around and always, doing things with them. Or my father, he worked in an oil refinery. So whenever he was doing projects, I was the only one around. So he would always have me hanging around with him, come help me do this, come help me do that. So when you really kind of backtrack, that's really where it kind of started. And I learned these skills of just doing the work. And I find myself, my older brother had a health club business. So on weekends, I'd be riding around with him and go to the health club, and I would basically clean up everything, wipe down the mirrors, clean up the equipment. If people came into the health club, I would introduce myself, and I'm Kevin's little brother. I'm going to walk you around, kind of show you. It was kind of like this. Okay, this kid is going to show me everything. So I was just showing them how to work out, right? What machine did what. When you come in the morning time, we had this, and I still have to find this chart, but it was he made this big board and everything was alphabetical. So everybody had their own card and they would put it in M's or A's or B's or whatever. So they would come in, they would pick out their card, and on there would tell them exactly what to do on what exercises, reps, and things of that nature. So it was really a training manual right back then in the 1980s. So again, I kind of go back to all this because that's where I really feel that the obedience, the character integrity, the habits, I watched them through my life. And then I started realizing that, okay, well, if I can just help people around my neighborhood, I can make extra money. So I would go to Mrs. Joe's next door, my little red wagon, and say, Mrs. Joe, listen, what do you need done? And so Rene, go back in the yard, take those bricks, bring them to the front and I'll give you 50 cents. And I said, 50 cents? I'm worth $1. All right, I'll give you $1. So it's like little stuff like that you think about, right? And I think that through all of that, my father, my family was Catholic and Italian. So we always had these gatherings. We always had, celebrations. We had all these people would come over to the house sometimes. And it's just that camaraderie. I think that we just had that. It was helping people, doing things. So I can go back through those years. And then in high school, it was always me and some friends finding projects. I mean, we were going to a dumpster I remember there was a Kellogg's, I believe it was, or Kellogg's, and they were basically going out of business. So they were throwing a lot of stuff in the dumpster, right? And we would pull this stuff out and find it's pretty good stuff. We just had to kind of clean it up a little bit, and we resold it. So it was swing sets, it was boots, it was all kind of stuff. So I think that entrepreneurship, watching my brothers, my father, even though he wasn't an entrepreneur, he was the hardest working, and he always did a little side thing. So we always had the main job, which I tell everybody, that's kind of like you have your Rich Dad, Poor Dad, if you ever read it. So he was not my poor dad, but I would say he was secure. He wanted the job. My brothers were the risk takers. So I was kind of affected with both. And as I started going through high school and going through and just being associated with different people, you go into a poor house, a rich house, and you start kind of figuring out this feeling, right? Wow, they can get anything they want, right? And we were kind of like always just not poor, but we were kind of like middle class. So things that I wanted, I couldn't have. And so I learned that discipline, saying, okay, I'll settle for what you give me, right? Even though I wanted the Mongoose bike, I got a bike, but it wasn't a Mongoose. So you kind of go through.
And that Mongoose bike back in the day, man.
Yeah, it was just,
I used to have a Mongoose bike.
Just the name, right? All it was a name.
Oh, yeah. I remember saving up money for that because my parents were like, no, we're not buying you.
Right.
So excited when I got that.
Yeah, it's a little things you think about back then, and it's like kids these days. They're thinking they're going to get this and this and this, and you have to put the whip on them and say, listen, you want to work, you can get that. Unless you get this. So I think that's where it all started. It's just started, I think, with a variety of different associations, working for my family or working for my uncles, aunts. My uncle was a mechanic, so I'd be in the shop with him and my cousin, and he would always just have us do little things around the shop, learning how to clean up, the machines, or do anything of that nature, understanding certain tools, what did what. So those are all these little traits that I feel in today's world is missing, because not enough kids are really getting exposed to the actual on-hands work. They're not getting exposed to leadership. They're not getting exposed to a little bit of teamwork. When it comes down to sports, that's another team building skill, right? And I was always in some type of sports, football, baseball, or wasn't good at basketball. I was tall. I just couldn't run, dribble, and everything at the same time. I just didn't. I said, I don't know how to do this. So I like to hit. So I was good in the football play part. And so it really I think my career started in the oil refineries right after high school, even though I did some different little things with some friends, working at restaurants. I think ever since I was 14 or 15, when I was able to go to work, I got that permit. I think it was a permit back then in my day, that you had to get a permit.
Yeah, and they still do that today.
Do they do that? Mm-hmm. Okay, because I didn't know the age frames. I know legally, what's that legal age, I guess, these days.
I don't think they can legally start working until they're 15 now. It might be 16.
Okay. So that was I remember we had to do something, and we had to go through either getting a permit or some sort. I was working at, I think it was called Superstore back then. So Superstores took over Canal Villeries, and that's what, you roller skating around the store, which is pretty neat. So I became I was the manager of the toy section. So everybody called me the toy boy. And so I was managing that toy section, and I would make sure it's all clean at certain times of the day. And I remember these little kids one night. I just finished cleaning up everything, making sure everything looks good. And this little kid comes and I'm just watching them down the aisle. They're taking one off and taking another one off. They take another off and they're just leaving them. I'm telling you, the eye that I gave that kid, he just took off. Right? But I think that was really a kind of good experience right there. So that was my first managing job right around 17, I think. So, fast forward right out of high school, I was supposed to go play football at Nicholls State. My girlfriend at the time, we were breaking up because I was moving on. 2 weeks later, she calls me and says she was pregnant. So derailed my plans. I should have kept on going forward. We could have still, had my child, but I decided to stop, go work at the oil refinery where my dad worked. And, my daughter Melody, was born in between that time period. And so I worked in a refinery for about about 2 years. And I moved up pretty quickly in the maintenance division. And then I started building scaffolds. And so that, again, just that little time period, I learned these skills and I paid attention to the managers. I looked at leadership and I grew pretty quickly because instead of waiting for the opportunity, I just started doing the leader role, even though I wasn't being paid for the leader role. And at that time, you have these individuals saying, "Hey, man, you're just a laborer. Why don't you just chill out?" So why don't we just get the work done? And the faster we can do the work, then you can sit down and eat Cheetos and bananas and all you want to do, right? And that was just my mentality. And I think that's still in today. Just do the work, get the work done. And I think that's been my really biggest part in my life, that I just get the work done. I don't really sit around a cooler. I don't really talk about stuff that don't need much. And I think in today's world, that's the problem. A lot of people just talk all day about stuff and the day goes by very quickly. Nothing gets done because they're not really understanding time is money and time goes very quickly. And you have to make sure every hour, you're really kind of paying attention because it can get away from you. And that's what I feel I've learned from the childhood, being with my father, being with my brothers, that I didn't have that little luxury of just sitting around. And when you're in that, you're being taught, I guess, at an early age. So that I feel is one of the skills that excelled me. So I didn't go to college, but I did start going to trade schools at nighttime for a computer, or I went to a business class for about a year and a half. I got a certificate with that, Louisiana Tech. So I decided that instead of me going to school and college, I kind of treated work as a college. So I get paid to work. So I learned the skills. So I would hop jobs every year and a half if I knew I was getting to a level where I wasn't going to go higher. So I think that's one area that I've started realizing real quick, that for me to go higher, I don't really need the college education. I just need to do the work and I need to have the experience. So if I can learn the experience and do the work, I would supersede those who had this college degree or resume, right? So that's where I kind of got into that, fell into staffing business, managing a staffing business when I was 22. And that was probably the biggest opportunity in my life right there. So even though I've worked with my brother in the health clubs all those years, I was always still working there in the nighttime, training people or doing something with him. So those were that side. He couldn't afford to pay me he wasn't making, he wasn't making six figures plus. So how can I make six figures, right? But it was a great environment. It was exposure to we built a lot of relationships and a lot of friends with that industry. And then the staffing business was laborers, basically supplying companies with anything from construction workers, warehouse workers, carpenters, whatever. So I'm based here in New Orleans. So I dealt with a lot of companies who were some of the largest companies here. And back then I didn't really understand it too much, but I would just go to these superintendents and, drive by job sites and just drop in, introduce myself and just say, if y'all ever need temporary labor, please think about me. Here's my card. And it just turned into opportunities. And that's where I built, my job with that company was basically to build new accounts, maintain the accounts. And that's where I learned that skill that you can be supplying companies with labor. And over time, some of those companies would hire the labor. So I had to, being 22, I was basically managing 30, 40, 50-year-olds. And at some points, they would say, man, you're young, so it doesn't matter how my age is. My goal is to get the job so you can go to work, because the reason you're in here to work. If I don't get the jobs, guess what? You ain't got no work. So it was really a little kind of a learning experience again back in that.
If you're listening and thinking, my team needs this, that's exactly why Coach Clark Leadership and Development exists. We partner with businesses, churches, and organizations that want practical leadership training, not theory, but tools leaders can use immediately. If you're responsible for developing people, let's talk soon. Visit CoachAClark.com. Yeah, and that's a cool one to be in too. I think that's one of the things that school fails us on right now is, being that you were 22 and you're leading these people that are 30, 40. We put it in school. The only people that can lead at the high school are the seniors. And there's no way a freshman should ever be leading a senior. But just hearing that right there, leadership is not something that's age restricted.
No.
Nobody cares when you get on the football field. Is that a freshman or is that a senior?
Right.
That's just a football
Correct.
player.
Yeah, it's not there's not an age factor, and I think that's a belief system. And I'm actually playing with conscious and subconscious, and it's a belief system.
Yes.
And I didn't look at age as an age. I looked at it as I'm just confident that I can do this job, right? And because of the ability, or maybe my size, or maybe because I've been around most of my brothers and their friends all my life, I kind of was older. So I was in bars before we were supposed to be in bars, right? So it was my brothers, and they just knew everybody. So they didn't ask for my ID. No, you Manfre, come on, just don't tell nobody what your age is, because I looked older than I was. So I was always fit or, worked out or whatever. So I grew up faster, I think, from a physical perspective and that gave me that confidence. And that confidence kind of led into my ability of understanding sales, building relationships, people skills, all of those things I didn't study. I didn't study all that. And I learned it. And then with that staffing business, what that taught me was I was managing the business for three brothers. And these three brothers, two brothers were, they owned a large nursing kind of home. So they were very wealthy. And Eddie, who was my manager, was the other brother that was the owner and manager of the staffing business. So you're dealing with a lot of money. You're dealing with payroll, literally 20, 30,000 a week. And so we were basically paying that payroll out and invoicing these companies. And I remember certain weeks that, hey, Rene, we got to get some of that money. So I'd be calling these companies and, hey, Miss Carol, this is Rene at Labor Finders. Got a $30,000 invoice. I got to get that. Rene, listen, baby, listen, come on over. I'm going to give you 15,000. So, well, I need 30. Eddie's not going to be happy if I don't get 30. So, man, I don't know what else to tell you. So, all right. So I'm talking ballistic, right? I mean, he would turn red. It's like these, and that's when you start understanding front end of the business and back end of the business, that people don't understand that. And I'm still today in my businesses, I'm invoicing and hey, listen, guys, where's my money? So some people get into business and they don't really understand. You have got to be on top of everything, not just doing the work. You got to do the back end, making sure the invoices went out. Did that email get lost? So when you're checking, sometimes oh, well, Rene, that email doesn't work anymore. I'm sorry, baby. Whatever, right? Oh, okay. Thank you for telling me a month later. I was expecting that check, but y'all didn't get the invoice because you didn't tell me your system changed, right? Or, well, Rene, we can't pay you a check because your insurance expired. Well, I wish these are all things that go on a daily basis in the back end that as a business, when you start really doing this, you start understanding it's sales, it's accounting, it's managing, it's people skills, it's character, it's so many different factors. And you have to be willing to eat a lot of crap almost on a daily basis to keep going forward. So,
I'll say you're also the therapist, counselor, mediator. I'm trying to think what else.
We want to take a quick moment to shout out today's premier sponsor, Vicky with Hubbard Flooring Studio. Leadership always starts with a strong foundation, and so does your home or office. Vicky and her team don't just cover floors, they help you step into excellence one plank, tile, or carpet at a time. And now, they are offering Hunter Douglas blinds, giving you the ability to set the tone, control the light, and create the perfect environment to lead from. Hubbard Flooring Studio, where strong foundations and bright visions begin.
You're a lot. You're spinning plates. So those years of my young years.
Have you seen that? You remember that commercial they had that just when you were saying that they had years ago, and it was like whenever you're dealing with somebody that's a small business, and it shows the guy, he's working the front desk, and he comes in and they start complaining. He's like, "We want to speak to your manager," and he's like, "One second. What do you want?"
True. And sometimes he's not here. So
yeah.
I don't know where he is. I'm just a janitor. I don't know where he's at. I'll find him though. I'll tell him to call you.
That's what my father says all the time. He's like, "Yeah, I'm the head janitor."
Right.
They're like, "Why?" He's like, "What? I thought you owned." He's like, "Yeah, I'm cleaning up everybody else's mess."
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do.
No. It really is. It's comical. It's comical sometimes. You're you sometimes want to go back to just being an employee. Not sometimes, a lot of times.
Oh,
let me reframe that. And so when you're building anything, it does not matter whether you're working for a company or you're working for yourself. You kind of have these responsibilities, but when you're the owner, you don't have the privilege of kind of laxing a little bit. But at the same time, you're still on, like my sister, she's a vice president of a very large company, and she deals with cell phone towers and stuff like that across the country. So her and I were together this past week. We went to Florida to do some work on her condo for 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. It was really just a good getaway for both of us. Haven't hung out with her for a while, but both of us are on the phone, and both of us, she's on conference calls, I'm on little conference calls, and we talk in between about, what I'm going through, what she's going through, the differences of she's working for a major company that they have buku billions and millions that they're dealing with, but it's not her checkbook, right? So for her, she has to deal with all the BS, but at the same time, she does have a lot riding on her, because if she messes up somewhere, shape, or form, just like a business owner, you can get fired. So a business owner kind of goes the same way. I mean, every day I can get fired. If I do I'm firing myself pretty much, right? And you start really understanding that no matter what position you're trying to go into, you always want to have the business owner mindset. And I think that's where I was always kind of understanding that when I went into a business or a company or managing or sales, I knew that sales was the front end of bringing in the money. And if I didn't bring in the money, I can't expect to keep my job, because then we don't have any business. So that's where I kind of learned real quick from my brother, and doing memberships at the health club, that the health club survived on memberships. If you don't have people coming into the door to sign up every year on the memberships, then you don't have a business. The same thing with the staffing business. I had to go out to get the business, build the relationships, then at the same time supply the workers, and then maintain those jobs, maintain the communication between the superintendent or the workers or whatever it may be. And that's where you kind of learn that little angle, right? All that back end stuff. So you don't learn this in a school. You can't learn it in a classroom. You got to just do it. And that's really when you do it, you learn faster, and it's something inside of you because you did it. It sticks with you. So if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Now, I didn't mean to ask, what was the name of the health club, your brother's health club?
So back in, let's see, the first one was Polaris Health Club. So it was in Kenner, Louisiana. It was a small health club next door to the skating rink, actually. And so that was the first one. And then the second one was in Laplace. So that was a bigger facility. And then when I was doing a staffing business, he's 10 years older. So him and a partner were able to take over a health club over in Fort Smith, Arkansas. And that was like this large 50,000 square foot building. It had four racquetball courts, Olympic sized pool, basketball courts, everything. It was really a beautiful place. So at the time, he was, when they moved up there, they were after me, and I was engaged at the time. So I was kind of like, no, I'm not coming up there. But they kept on dinging me and said, dude, you need to come up here. We need you to do sales. And I said, dude, I'm not ready. And plus y'all can't afford me. So at the same time, I got a little bit, my relationship was going a little rocky. And I was kind of, again, I was hitting a ceiling with the staffing business. I was right around 24. So at 24, my brother said, listen, you're coming up. I said, okay. So I remember I packed up the U-Haul truck. Me and him drove up to Arkansas. I did not have a clue what I was getting myself into. I knew I was going to live with him. That's pretty much it. And so I wake up the next morning because it took like 12 hours. So it's cold. We're up there. I wake up in the morning time. I see mountains, and I was like, what did I do? All right. Okay. So so I went to the gym that day, just kind of got my just understanding. I drove around the city just to kind of understand the Fort Smith, Arkansas. If you've ever been, it's just a small town, right? Old fashioned town, right? There's no big skyscraper buildings. It's really just a country town. So I drove around and just trying to understand it for the first couple of days, because I was trying to figure out my angle. That here's a nice health club in the city. Competition's another health club called Gold's Gym. And I said, well, you have Train, you have all these corporate companies, Whirlpool, that's where all their manufacturing are. So I decided to put together a corporate employee benefits program. And my brother was kind of like, what are you talking about? I said, well, Kevin, these locations have employees. So if I can just go to them and show them that, hey, our health club gives their employees a discount, it's a win-win. So that's what I really did. And so I helped him really increase and scale his sales because of that little twist, where the guys he had there before, they were just thinking, just marketing to certain individuals in the area. They were doing mail outs and stuff like that. So that's really where, again, another opportunity, I guess, for myself to prove to myself, but then also my brother that, I can create something out of nowhere. Right. So I guess my brain always works. How can I get more faster? Right. Instead of waiting for the ones and twosies. So that's really where I kind of got good with that. So that was a great experience. I was up there for 4 years. We were in the process of building a nightclub next door to it. So we had a health club and a nightclub. So I was working at this other restaurant learning bartending. And that was right. You ever seen a Risky Business movie with Tom Cruise? Not Risky Business. Cocktails. You never seen the movie Cocktails?
I have not. I'm gonna put it down on my list.
Movie. You got to watch Cocktails. So
it's got Tom Cruise.
Yeah, it was Tom Cruise. Yeah.
Oh, well, it's
Oh
gonna
yeah,
be good.
it's a great movie. It's a lot of these old movies people don't remember or they never saw, right? And so I was bartending, trying to get prepared for when we were going to build this nightclub. And so I watched that movie Cocktails one night. And when I said I was a bartender, the reason I got the job because I told them I was from New Orleans. I had no clue about bartending. Now I drank a lot, so, but I never really made the, and I knew the basics, like a highball, the basics. So I get behind the bar that night and it says Varsity Sports Grill. It's a cool kind of, I would say it would be very similar to, what's the one that Breeze owns? Walk-ons. Very similar concept, right? And it was just a nice big bar and people would come in for food and drinks and etc. And the place was packed. So I had this red book. So I got the bartending book. I started studying the drinks. I had a friend of mine that he was a little bit more experienced. I went home one night and watched this movie Cocktail. And it was basically the same. Tom Cruise was the bartender and he created these crazy little drinks and he created these little poems. So I watched it and I jotted down, you want to try some of the fabulous cocktails that I make? You want to get stinky or something? And I stir, shake, the jackhammer, the varsity bammer. I made my whole poem, so I can go over that in a minute. But I made this whole poem. I go back the next day and I tell the manager, just listen, I want to do something tonight. So what do you want to do? So I want to do a little poem for the people. So I did it and it went over pretty good. The tossing the drinks, that didn't go over so well because my friend missed it. So the manager's like, stop, don't throw no more. But it was a good entertainment for the people.
I'm seeing this all play out right now.
You got to watch the movie. So once you watch the movie, you'll kind of get an idea. So it's, again, when you look at all these things that I'm telling you, Aaron, it's like a movie, right? And for me, I go back through my years and I keep on in decades and I say, okay, that decade of those 10 years, I did a lot in that 10 years. So between 20 and 27 is when I came back home because me and my brother we weren't seeing eye to eye on the business. I was 10 years younger. His partner was a prick. So I had to get away before I beat somebody up. So I said, you know what? I'm out of here. So y'all can't afford me anymore. I can't go as high as I want to. And so again, whenever I got to that ceiling, I'm okay. What can I do to get past the ceiling, right? What can I get to that 6 figures plus? So when I came home, 27, stayed with my mom and dad, and my sister was managing a couple of buildings in the city. So I just asked her, just give me a little job, just doing something with the buildings, just maintenance, whatever. So I was just painting, doing little stuff for the buildings. And my dad called me up one night and said that I had to come home to switch my insurance over from Arkansas to Louisiana. So I was with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And so he was very adamant again that you have health insurance, car insurance, right? So he was very strict. Before, when I was 15, 16 years old, he already had me down. So they say, listen, you want to move out? This is what you got to prepare for. You got to prepare for rent. You got to prepare for food. You got to prepare for gas. You got to pay. He was a very anal. He's 94 years old. And he's still anal. So he had us understanding that if you want to be on your own, this is what it's going to take. So it trained us to really understand that we had to go to work. If I wanted to have that car, if I wanted to have that life, or I wanted that, it ain't coming out of his pocket. He's going to give us the house. He's going to give us a place to live. He's going to feed us, but he's not going to do anything over that to give to us. So it wasn't mean. It was just that he was busting his butt, just keeping the lights on, the household, back in those days, stuff like that. So again, those are skills that you don't think about and you don't appreciate until you do get older and you start realizing what your parents were teaching or what they were saying. We don't start realizing it until we get older.
Hey, if you've liked what you've seen so far, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show. That way we can continue to bring you great guests and great content like you've seen so far. Now back to the episode.
Right. Until you got to do it yourself. Until you got to be the one that's making sure the lights stay on, till you're the one that's making sure there's gas in the car, till you're the one that's doing all those things. And I think that's where, like, kind of you said, I loved how you started the whole episode off with the skill. Just do the work.
Just do the work. Just listen for one. So if it's just listening, and it's doing, and it's not back talking and say that I know everything. I don't know anything. Tell me what to do. I can do it. Once I do it, I get an attaboy, right? It's kind of like, just, I don't need it, but just let me know, hey, did I do the work right? That's all I need. I don't need no praise. I just need the money or whatever I want to get, right? So going back to the insurance now, my father was always very adamant that I had a salary. Now, I always did salary plus commission. So I always had an opportunity where whatever I got into, that it gave me a base, but I always wanted something that if I'm going to do more, I'm going to have something to reach for, right? So when I got into that, I came home that night because he asked me to come home and, sign up for the insurance. So Mr. Jody was my insurance agent, and he was sitting at the table and he was sharing with me the Blue Cross and Blue Shield plans. You have major medical, you have PPO, and you have HMO, stuff like that. So he was explaining to me the difference, and I was asking him some questions. And so he gave me the price. I said, okay, let's go with it. It was like $150 a month or whatever back then. And when I was filling out the information, I just asked him a few questions. So, Mr. Jody, let me ask you a question. I'm 27, don't have a college background. I'm good at sales. I've been approached by your insurance guys for years. Help me understand the money. And my dad was kind of like sitting there. What do you say, Dad? Just let me just ask my questions. So the guy basically just told me that he was the same thing like myself. He was working construction. He got into insurance with it because his dad was in it. And he showed me that the more insurance or more people I help, the more money I make. And then you get a residual income by maintaining those clients. So I asked him, okay, well, that sounds easy. How much do you make, if you don't mind? So I can kind of have an idea. I'm looking for a career. And he told me 300,000. I said, what? All right, listen. What do I have to do to get into this? He didn't come there to recruit me. He came there to write my insurance. And this is where sometimes you have to ask questions if you want to get somewhere, instead of me waiting for him to ask me. I knew something about this industry. I wanted to get into that, or real estate or something. I just didn't have somebody to help me to step in. The next day he called me up and said, Rene, listen, we usually don't hire people who don't have an insurance background. I told my boss he needs to talk to you. Call him up and set up a meeting. So Blue Cross and Blue Shield did not hire people who didn't have insurance backgrounds, much less a young person like myself, 27 years old. So I walked in the office, me and Lucian was the manager, he was smoking a cigar and playing poker on a computer, right? Good guy. And he's like, man, I like you. Both of us are Italians. I kind of made some jokes with him and said, listen, Lucian, come on. Just, I promise you, I can do this. So what do I need to do? So listen, you go get your license. I'll put you to work. And my motto is like, can you kind of give me an idea what I'm going to start off with? He said, straight commission. So no salary? Nope. I'm going to give you leads. I'm going to give you a desk. I'm going to give you a phone. It's up to you. You can go as high as you want. So I was like, okay, gotcha. I went and I started studying, had to go to a class, had to pay for the class, not in my pocket. So it was like a couple of $100. I was painting still, doing my maintenance through the day while I was studying for that license. I was all excited, thinking I'm ready to take the test. About a month later, went and took the test. You go in a room and it's like 150 questions. You're sitting in this quiet room, and other people are taking the test on the computers. And it's like this moment that you got. And these questions start popping up and you have to react, right? A yes, no, a whatever. And I'm thinking, man, I got it. I missed it by a few points. I was like, Went back, studied, still painting. Went and took the test again. I missed it by more points. This is almost 30 days, 60 days. Okay. I was up in the room one night and my dad was telling me, he said, son, I know you're excited about this opportunity, but you don't have to. You don't have to do this. I said, Dad, let me tell you something. I'm gonna pass this stupid test. I'm just missing something. I'm not sure what I'm missing, but I'm studying this stupid thing. I'm gonna get the test, and I promise you, I'm gonna make the money, right? So even though my father was trying to protect me because he knew I was studying, I was working, and whatever reason, he was kind of like trying to protect me, right? But at the same time, I knew inside of me, I knew I had to just pass a stupid test. And I was not a very good test taker in school because every time I had a hard time in class, my coaches would go in and tell the teachers to do whatever because I needed to play football. So that was a hindrance because I guess I never really studied, right?
I was about to say, if you just go past, why study? It didn't matter.
Yeah, so it's like, so my sister, I had to sit her down and say, Karen, okay, because she went to college and all. I said, Karen, how do you study? So I know I'm studying this, or Rene, you're doing it right. You just have to take these little cards. Like, okay, so I did the cards and I practiced, and again, so I failed the test 4 times, but I finally passed. So when I passed it on my 4th time, I was fired up. I went to the office. The guy, Lucian, was like, okay, you're hired. And so it took me, again, I was going into the office and it was beautiful, this big, beautiful building in Metairie, right? So I felt like I was like, man, I've arrived. I got these people around me that are older people that are making 6 figures. They're wearing Rolex watches and nice cars. And I'm like this beat up Bronco I got. And so it really is the story of rags to riches because I was broke. I was 27, 30,000 in debt, had a red Bronco that had a busted door. And I just had to have an opportunity in that shot to get into a vehicle that I had more control with. And I just knew that if I made the phone calls, made the appointments, I can get the sales. And then the sales started coming in. And over about 2 to 3 months, I was making 5 to 6, 7,000 a month. That's when it clicked. All I have to do is work, make my phone calls, follow up with clients, network, build relationships. And then from there, it kind of took off. Went in different roles with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I fell into another company, Primerica, where I started really having an opportunity to teach and training other insurance agents. Because a lot of friends of mine they were always asking me and say, Rene, how do I get into this? How do I get into this? So I didn't have a vehicle for them because Blue Cross wasn't a recruiting company. It's not like they were recruiting anybody. So America kind of gave me that opportunity where I can build a little team. So that gave me that skill. With that, I met a friend of mine, or a gentleman, who he was doing real estate and real estate investing. So I asked him one day, so let me ask you, I want to get into this real estate. How do I do it? How do you find the properties and how do you make the deal work, right? So we did a property together so I did the labor, he did the money. And that was right at 911. When 911 hit, we were doing that property. And I remember the people came in from next door. I had this little condo and they came in next door and it says something about, the Twin Towers being, well, not Twin Tower, was it? Yeah, 911, yeah. Twin Tower, right? So that's what was our first real estate deal. We sold that a couple of months later, profited $15,000 each. We did a couple of more, and then he wanted to open up a Keller Williams office and wanted me to be the team leader. So I was like, yeah, cool. That sounds pretty cool. I like real estate. I know this business now because I have, at that time I had about 3 or 4 properties. So I understood the basics of how to buy a house and stuff like that. And I started understanding with that process is a lot of real estate agents did not understand investing. They were real estate agents, but as I was interviewing agents who've been doing this for 10, 20 years, they never had their own investment property. And I'm like, okay, so the reason you're going to come to me in my office that I'm recruiting agents from other companies, Century 21, Letter and Bloom, et cetera, because me and my friend Joe were very good at teaching people how to buy property, how to do investment properties, things of that nature. And it was just very odd for me at 30, I think I was 30, 31, that a lot of real estate agents did not understand financing. They didn't understand insurance. They didn't understand a lot of things. And so it really opened my eyes up at that time that's why we were recruiting so much, because people were starting to hear that we were teaching our agents how to think different. We were teaching them how to think like a broker, think like a business owner. If you're going to go on vacation for a month, what would happen to your income? I would literally have these ladies look at me and say, well, Rene, what are you talking about? I'm just asking you. And they would really look at me and say, well, I can't go away for a month. I don't understand. What I'm telling you and what I'm helping you, when you come with me, I'm going to teach you how to build investment property and residual income that you're not sitting here relying on the sales, because we all know that the sales fall through. So I've always been somewhat adamant that you got to have 2 to 3 different incomes, because you can't rely on one, because something's going to happen. I don't know what it's going to be. It's a disaster. It's a hurricane. It's a tornado. It's the world. So I never had a disaster, but I knew in my mind at the time that I liked that residual income that kept on coming in. I started seeing sales. Sometimes you're getting all excited about a sale coming through, and you're sitting there relying or waiting for that $3,000 commission check, but the mortgage company didn't get the right paperwork, so it's prolonged. So you have these cycles, and I started realizing in that position as a team leader, we had about 90 agents. So I took it from nothing. We built it up to 90 agents. Hurricane Katrina happened. That's when I'm in Texas, playing with my dog, looked at the TV, and I saw the bridges in New Orleans East in the water. And I was like, what is that? And that's when it hit me. Whoa, I'm 32 years old. No, 35. I'm sorry, 35 at that time. I'm thinking I'm bulletproof. I have 30 something properties, making a good 20, 25, 30, 40, 50,000 sometimes each month. And when I saw that, I was like, I don't really know what I'm going back to. I went to Texas unemployment line, and then I started figuring out how to get back in the city so I can figure out what do I have. And my fiance at the time was a police officer, so we were able to get into the city, before some other people, and it was a war zone. I mean, I can get to a lot of properties.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it was definitely a crazy time being down there during that Katrina time.
Yeah.
Even just I got my kids to watch the Netflix special that they just put out on the 20-year anniversary, and they're like, "Was it really like that?" I'm like, "Yes, that's exactly what it was like. It was that way. It was crazy. I don't even know." I said, "Those pictures, that explains what it was, guys."
It was. I mean, you had the army. You had you had no electricity. You still had water in the city.
No.
So you would drive over and you would see, Superdome and stuff like that. It's just water, right? So it was really just a crazy time. So I learned a lot. That had to push me to learn, start up a little contracting company. I had a couple Spanish guys that I met. We started doing roofing. We started doing certain things just to make money. So if you fast forward everything into where I made a mistake. So I repaired everything during a hurricane. After the hurricane, I got rid of some things. I held on to some things that I should have let go. And because I wasn't really prepared, I got trapped in 2008 when everything changed. So you had a property that 1 minute it was worth $600,000 and dropped to $400,000 overnight. My bankers, I couldn't do the things that I was doing. So I would make a phone call. And before then, it was, Rene, just tell me the deal, send over the paperwork, we'll make the deal work. I send over the paperwork, and my bankers basically says, Rene, we can't do it. Can't do that right now. We're in this little 2008 crunch or whatever. So it put me against a wall because I did not have another resource of income that was really protecting me enough. And the properties that I should have got rid of, all of a sudden kind of got sucked up with that equity. So I took a bath, and it was a painful two years, went through everything, went through divorce, went through all different types of different things that I had to do to make money. I was trying to sell the properties in the banks because I was behind on some of the notes. Even though I was selling the properties for what I owed on them, they were telling me I had to come to the table with 10, 15, 20,000 plus. I was like, are y'all stupid? I'm giving you the properties. I'm selling the properties. So it was really a point of my life right then that I could not do what I was doing. And it really taught me, I guess, being humble, right? It taught me really, I need to think faster. I can't get relaxed. I can't get comfortable. So I had to recreate myself again. Did a bankruptcy, went through divorce. Like I said, everything, moved back home, my mom and dad at 39 years old. So 39 years old, you go from owning 50 something properties, making at least somewhere between 500, 600,000 a year to back home in the same room, my sister's old room at my mom and dad's house, watching my Denali SUV being towed away, figuring out the next step. And that's when I started, and a hurricane came. So when a hurricane came, I said, okay, this is an opportunity. So I was already still insurance licensed. I went and got my adjuster's license, and I started working with some of these adjusting companies and made a quick 80,000 within a short period of time. That got me up, met some good guys who, this is all about relationships. So everything I just now shared with you, I think how much time we almost over?
Yeah, I was about to say, we're almost done.
Fast forward, all I can say is that over the course of the years, it's all about relationships. It's all about leadership. It's all about basically tempering yourself to where I don't wait for anything to happen. I had to create. And until today, I have a lawn care company. We do a transportation where we do offshore transportation for companies for the last 15 years. We took that between me and a friend, that just me and him. Now we have 25 drivers spread out in different parts of the states. The lawn care company has turned into more of a multi exterior maintenance company. So those are my main two resource incomes. And over the course of the years, learning marketing and video, I have different YouTube channels. What's Your Passion is a podcast show very similar to yours. So it's a lot of things that I've had to do over the last few years to get more diversified and take all of these experiences that I'm sharing with you that might have to do a part two, that all it came down to was, one, believing in yourself, not waiting for other people to give you the belief. Two, getting out of your own comfort zone and going to do it, going to find it, not waiting for the door for somebody to come to, because nobody's coming to save you. You got to go find it. You got to go reach. You got to make these connections, just like me and you. People is the key to the whole puzzle. Every single opportunity came from a relationship and a friendship until today's day.
If you're watching and not ready for full organizational training, but you want to grow personally, I'd like to invite you to join our Leadership Multiplier School community. It's a community of positive, growth-minded leaders who are serious about developing influence and helping others do the same. If leadership matters to you, you belong in that room. Let's get back to the show.
Yeah, and that was one of the main things I'd picked up too. When you started off talking, I was working for my brother. I was doing all my stuff, so I was always hanging out with my brother and his friends, and really having to sell up a lot. So I think that's one of the things that really benefited you, being the youngest of four and having to constantly work for that approval and be creative, and you had to be crafty and think, and well, if I want to hang out with my brother and his friends, well, I got to make sure they like me, because I know my brother Kevin's going to try to kick me in the butt and send me back down. But then you one that I thought was really cool too is that I think people need to sometimes, that do like you talked about with going to get the insurance license, Like when your dad was like, Rene, seriously, just give up, bro. Like they go find something that's going to be safe and secure. And it's not that he was discouraging you. He was wanting to love you through that. Like, hey, you're my child. I want to protect you. That's what my job is as dad. And just being able to look beyond that and go, but that's what I want. And so I kind of was wanting to switch that into, you and you brought it up right at the end, was what's your passion? I thought that was kind of a cool thing that you've got going and that you're trying to get going. So kind of briefly, what is your passion?
So hurricane, when the COVID happened, I'm at home, so I couldn't do anything. At that time, I was an Allstate agent, and we had an agency that was inside the car dealerships. So that relationship came from that hurricane that I told you back in 2010. I helped Troy Duhon, which owns a lot of dealerships. I helped him make some money on one of his properties. And so me and him became friends. And so that created the relationship to where he was after me for about 2 years to do an insurance agency with him inside of his car dealerships. I was like, okay, let's do it. So we did it, and we were actually rolling. We were the number one Allstate agency in the state for a couple of, I would say about 2 years. And it wasn't like I was a dealership program. So you have Allstate agencies and you have a dealership program. So I was kind of like separate. But from a numbers perspective, we were doing 80 to 100,000 a month, which is unheard of. And so we were doing very well. Allstate kind of changed some of those numbers back in around 2018. So, COVID, I couldn't do anything. The dealerships were closed. I started watching all these different individuals like Tony Robbins and all, which I've been studying them for years, John Maxwell, all of them. And I started seeing them really kind of on this YouTube and everything else. And I started paying attention. I was like, well, okay, I'm going to start doing podcasting. So I never knew anything about podcasting. I had to research it. I had to call 2 friends of mine, right, and figure out, okay, how do you do this podcasting? It's like, okay, I have a YouTube channel. They introduced me to Riverside, StreamYard, etc. And so I started doing my little podcasting, and that's really where it came. So what your passion was, I find that people have a passion for something. Most of the time it's money, right? It's making money, doing something that they really want to do. And being Rich Dad, Poor Dad, if you ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it goes from employee, self-employed, business owner, investor. The challenge with that, I think a lot of people are not understanding that you can't just jump from the employee to the self-employed. You got to kind of learn some skills, get some things running before you jump, because when you jump, you have to make sure you're producing. And if you're not a producer that produces income daily, and you don't have those habits, you don't have those skills, you're gonna fail. And so I looked at what your passion and said, okay, I can create this platform, create some training around it to where I can start really sharing my story like I'm sharing today. So if you look at my story wasn't like I was a self-employed person since I was 8 years old, but I was becoming a self-employed person because I started realizing that my name is everything. Your name is everything. I'm contracting myself to you. So whether I'm an employee or employer, 1099, I don't care. As long as I'm getting paid for my effort. And this is the difference where people don't understand. You are a brand. So even though you're working for somebody, your name is everything. So you have to work, produce, then you can play around and learn skills on the side. Don't wait for the skills. Go learn them while you're working. So you use your employer as your investor while you're learning. And if you do good work for the employer, well, heck, if you have opportunities, he's going to keep you. But once you're not bringing value to the company, then as an employer, we're going to start saying, hey, I need to replace you because you're not bringing more to the table. So you kind of have to start looking at this from a perspective that as an employee, for you to be a self-employed person and own a business, you have to really become a great employee. And you have to learn how to run that business. You have to learn every part of that business. So you understand when you do go on your own, and I deal with a lot of tugboat people, they make good money. but they're wasting their time. They're wasting their energy because sometimes they're off for 10, 15 days at a time. And I always ask them, so what did you do when you're off? Oh man, I just sat around, went out, drank, but they're going to tell me that they want to be a business owner one day. So I tell them straight up, you have to really become a better employee. And when you're home or when you're off time, instead of lollygagging, learn some skills, learn how to do something. Learn the things where you can prepare yourself that one day you can be your own boss. But really, if you do it right, stay an employee for the next 20, 30 years, build real estate, build side businesses, do all these other things, get the tax write-offs so the taxes that are coming out of your income come back to you. So now you can reinvest that money into other other opportunities. And it takes sometimes a little bit of understanding. Wait, okay, so I can set up my business even though I don't make money? So yeah, you set up a business so you can get the taxes back. That's your first income. You're using your employer because the banks love to loan to people who have a job. So now you can build real estate in the business easier to where you're not trying to find the money, right? So these are all the different things between lending, insurance, all the back end stuff that I guess I've tripped over myself forward. Like you and I talk about John Maxwell failing forward. That's what it is. My life has just been failing forward and then failing forward. I went backwards one time, but I didn't go backwards because I didn't quit. So yeah, I filed bankruptcy on like $3 million. Crazy. My dad was like, I didn't even know you can do that. So Dad, I didn't know I could do it either, but you know what? It gave me an opportunity, clean the slate. It gave me another opportunity within 1 year. And this is where the fact is. When I filed bankruptcy, the next day I started rebuilding my credit. So within 1 year, I was up again. So that's where sometimes the thinking, you have to really think through some different things of what you're doing and why you're doing it and understanding the forward. So that's where What Your Passion is, really just a training platform. It's turning into events, podcasts. I do like yourself. I invite people on, and I'm always looking for good people like yourself to where I can just interview and ask questions and learn, because this is our best learning platform right here from people like you and I that are doing it.
Right. Yeah. And I was about to say, and that was one of the reasons why I got started with mine was I knew there are other people out here going through doing what I'm trying to do, but I wanted to encourage, like you said, that the people that, oh yeah, I want to start a business. Well, why hadn't you started a business? It's because it's scary. Starting a business is scary. It's going out and there's no safety net. You know, you're getting on that trapeze and all right, I got to jump to that next one. And what do you mean there's nothing down there? Oh. But that's what we do every day as entrepreneurs. There is no net because we are the net. We're the one that's catching the team as they fall. And all right, come on, get back up. Let's go. I think one of my buddies said it best. You know, he said there was he's always reminded of the old quote, "Who guards the guardians?"
Right.
And he was like, it's, you know, for us, it's, you know, who motivates the motivator, who leads the leader. I was like, it's us.
Yeah.
We pick up each other's slack. When we're the leader, there's got to be that guy that comes up and says, all right, come on, Rene, you got this. Get back up. We all go fall if you don't.
Well, I think everybody needs support. Everybody needs camaraderie. Mm-hmm. Everyone needs a bouncing board. And the reason entrepreneurs like you and I, we hang around with each other because we have a different thinking. We have a different mission. We have a purpose. We have a passion. We have something that we're going for. It's a game. To me, it's a football game. I can't play sports, but I can build businesses. I can teach and train other people. Physically, I can't do like I used to, but I look at this as a game. So I need to play more because I'm not where I should be. And each day I'm figuring out what is it it's the vehicles, it's the marketing, it's certain things that I've got by through all these years with basics of the sales skills, the networking skills, the relationships, all those things. But now you get to a point where in the world we live in today, it's different. It's a different scale, but now it's easier in a way because now we have this channel. This channel can go across the world. So when you look at Louisiana, when you drive, like I was in Florida, Orange Beach this past Monday and Tuesday, and it opened up my eyes up to some things going on there that I wasn't paying attention to. When you go to Miami right now, there's like 50 skyscrapers. It's huge. You have Nashville's building up, Miami's building up. So sometimes the money is not only here in your own neighborhood, it's in the world. And that's what this channel gives us an opportunity where LinkedIn for me has been my biggest. I think as of today, I'm at 10,400 subscribers. I just hit 10,000 in December 1st, or I'm sorry, a little bit under. So my goal at the end of the beginning of last year was 10,000. And so what I'm seeing between LinkedIn and my YouTube, because I'm consistent and I'm doing it, now I'm teaching myself how to really build an online business for myself over the years to where now I can do coaching broader. And that's where you are at the same time. We're using these channels so we can create more opportunities, more relationships nationwide and across the country, not just here in our own backyard. Because sometimes people in our own backyard, they're too judgmental or they're too not thinking forward fast enough. And sometimes you have to get out of your environment to really think bigger.
Absolutely. No, I agree. So one I like to ask, and because we're approaching that hour mark, I always like to ask everybody, what's one that, because I believe all leaders are readers, what's one book that you would recommend all leaders or entrepreneurs read?
I'm going to have to say 2 books. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad is one book that I think I read in one day. And also this other book by Daniel Priestley, Becoming a Person of Influence. So those are the main 2 books that I feel at this point in time are the main 2. Now, go under that is John Maxwell with Leadership and Teamwork. Go under that with Alex Hormozy or Marketing, Gary Vee. So it's hard to say one book, but I do say if you can't read the book, listen to the book, watch it on YouTube, your off time, whatever. So I understand. I have if you're looking back, I have a whole bunch of books. I got books just like you got books all over the place. And sometimes it takes you time to read these books, especially on airplanes or whatever. But I've been able to use YouTube and audio podcasts to really learn faster. But you got to be watching the right things. And that's where I find some of these young adults are not listening to the right people because they don't know the people to listen to. So they don't know understanding which ones to listen to at which time period. Because you can listen to someone or watch or read a book, but it might not be the right time for you to read that level of book, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I missed the one you said by a guy named Daniel. What was that book?
Daniel Priestley is Becoming a Person of Influence.
Becoming a Person of Influence.
So about becoming a person of influence, man, his book and his track record, I mean, he basically just started off with networking. He started out in Canada, I believe, and he just started really networking, building some relationships, and that's where he kind of started out his business. So becoming a person of influence is really what it is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rene, what's my last question I love to ask everybody is what's one thing that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
I guess what is my drive? Maybe I guess that's.
So what's your drive?
So my drive is not a financial, it is freedom. It's being able to do what I want to do when I want to do it and with who I want to do it. And it's a bigger purpose that it's not about money. It's not about cars. It's not about houses, but it's basically helping other people. And when you have that drive or you have something that's inside of you that's pulling you forward, it makes you do the things you're supposed to be doing. So if you don't have that inside, that real bigger reason while you're doing what you're doing, whether it's taking care of your family, your friends, the people you work for. So I have a lot of responsibility on a daily basis. I have a lot of family, friends, workers that are under me. And I take that very seriously. I'm responsible and I'm accountable to make sure that these guys keep moving forward and it frustrates me because they are worth more. So I got to do more to give them more, because they're not going to be, some of them are not going to be able to go off on their own and do. And if they go to somewhere else sometimes, because leadership, things of that nature, they might not be able to get the opportunity that they can with me. So I'm trying to do everything in my power by diversifying myself in the companies to where they have every opportunity to move around as we're growing. So if they're not happy in this position, I'm not going to lose them. So I'm trying to build a safety net that keeps the good people with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody wanted to reach out and get connected with you, how do they do that?
LinkedIn is my best. LinkedIn, Rene Manfre, my website, Manfre & Associates. Google me, you probably come up with 3 pages. So Rene Manfre, just ChatGPT me maybe.
And I'm going to put all that in the comments, guys, in the description below. Rene, I appreciate you getting on and sharing. Definitely interesting. That we're definitely going to have to do this again, because I got to hear more, in, especially starting after the hurricane in 2010. Yeah,
that's part 2. So I appreciate you very much, Aaron. And then we just met a few weeks ago, and I look forward to the relationship and the things that we're planning on doing going into next year with your leadership program and coaching. So I think together, between us and some other people that we're bringing in, I think we really have something special 2026.
Yeah, I think it's going to blow up and be huge. Be huge.
Thank you very much.
All right. My pleasure, man.
If this episode added value to you, here are your next steps. If you lead an organization and want to develop strong leaders, connect with us at Coach Clark Leadership and Development. We have a free 30-minute connection discovery call. If you're a growth-minded leader looking for community and accountability, join Leadership Multipliers. Either way, don't just consume leadership, commit to it. What a conversation. Today, Rene walked us through how early life experiences shape work ethic, how leadership is forged in real-world environments, and how unexpected moments, even devastating ones like Hurricane Katrina, can completely redirect your path. We talked about the power of relationship in business, the importance of resilience when things fall apart, and why diversifying your income isn't optional if you want long-term stability. Rene also shared why podcasting and sharing knowledge matters. Because your story, your lessons, and your setbacks might be exactly what someone else needs to make it through and take their next steps. If this episode brought you value, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and follow the Clark Connection podcast so you don't miss future events and future conversations like this. And if you know someone who needs encouragement, perspective, or a reminder that setbacks don't define the finish line, share this with them. And remember, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. So keep learning, keep leading, and keep connecting. And I'll see you on the next episode, Clark Connection Podcast. Thanks for listening to the Clark Connection Podcast. If today's episode added value to you, do me a favor, follow the show and share it with someone who needs it. You can connect with me at my website, coachaclark.com, or on social media at Coach A. Clark. All the links are in the description. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, and keep connecting.